Hello there, I'm Lawrence and this is Sporting Law, brought to you by the team at Sprung. Picture this, a cold, crisp January 1995, Selhurst Park, South London. It's Manchester United versus Crystal Palace, and the game feels, well, unremarkable. But then everything, and I mean everything, shifts. What would unfold that night became not just football history, but an infamous, unforgettable moment in sports. So, we're in the second half. The score's goalless, tensions are high, and out of nowhere, Eric Cantona gets shown a red card. Now, if you know anything about Cantona, you know he's this almost mythical figure in football. He's gifted, charismatic, and let's be real, unpredictable. As he's heading off the pitch, something shocking happens. A fan, a guy named Matthew Simmons, yells something, or probably yells a string of things.
But it was the advice of the linesman Eddie Walsh which helped him.
None of it good. And Cantona? He doesn't walk quietly to the tunnel. He just stops, turns, and suddenly just launches himself into the stands. A full-on kung fu style kick, then a flurry of punches. The entire ground, everyone watching, just stunned. Nobody could believe it. I mean, this wasn't just a scuffle. This was something completely, absolutely unheard of. We can only imagine what must have been racing through the minds of people on that pitch. His teammates, the coaching staff, the referee for that matter. The mix of disbelief, frustration, maybe even fear. It makes you realize that football, like any sport, is so emotionally volatile. It's this beautiful equation of artistry, passion, and sometimes chaos. And fan interactions? They're like accelerants in that volatile cocktail. Where's the boundary between fan passion and safety? It's a dangerous gray area, and Cantona's moment shattered it. The fallout from that kick was, well, to call it severe might even be an understatement. Cantona was handed an 8-month suspension by the FA, which, at the time, was the longest ever ban for a player. 8 months. Just think about that. In football terms, that's basically an eternity. And it wasn't just about the games missed. It came with layers of consequences that spread far beyond the pitch. I mean, he lost the captaincy of the French national team, which was a huge deal. And let's not forget the criminal charges. Cantona was initially sentenced to 2 weeks in prison. Later, that got reduced to 120 hours of community service, but still, that shows you just how seriously the situation was taken. It sent shockwaves across football and honestly raised some big questions about fan safety and the pressure top athletes are under. And then, there's that press conference. You know the one. The cameras are rolling, reporters are waiting for some kind of apology or explanation.
They think sardines will be thrown into the sea.
And instead, Cantona gives us the seagulls line. You know, when the seagulls follow the trawler, it is because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. It's, well, bizarre, right? But in a way, it's pure Cantona. He didn't just answer the moment. He added another layer to the Eric Cantona mystique, leaving everyone wondering, was that philosophical depth or just a calculated act of deflection? It's hard not to compare this to other moments in sports where the boundaries between players and fans completely broke down. Think about Malice at the Palace, the NBA brawl involving Ron Artest, later Meta World Peace back in 2004. It was a frightening, chaotic scene, with players and fans physically squaring off. That incident led to sweeping changes in stadium security and a re-evaluation of just how fragile that line between athlete and spectator can be. And here's what connects these moments. They forced the entire sports world to confront some uncomfortable truths about emotion, safety, and responsibility. These are moments where the passion we love in sports inches dangerously close to outright chaos. So let's jump forward to Cantona's return, because honestly, this is where the story takes a remarkable, almost improbable turn. After that 8-month suspension, Cantona came back, and it was, well, epic. He didn't just return quietly, he returned triumphantly. That very season, Manchester United claimed the Premier League and FA Cup double, with Cantona at the heart of it all. It's like he took the weight of that scandal and turned it into momentum. You know, like a slingshot effect. And the thing is, instead of this incident tarnishing his legacy, which you'd think it might, it somehow reinforced it. People didn't forget the kick. How could they? But they began to see it as part of the enigma that is Eric Cantona. He became this larger-than-life figure, both loved and, well, sometimes feared. At Old Trafford, they didn't just welcome him back, they crowned him their king. It's fascinating to think about what all this says about sports and the people who play them. We love athletes for their brilliance, their charisma, but also their humanity, their flaws, their fire. Cantona embodied all of that in one package, and for better or worse, it made him unforgettable. You'd hear fans at the time talk about how that kick, as controversial as it was, somehow made him more relatable, like it showed he was human too, passionate, flawed, unpredictable, just like the rest of us. But it also opened up this bigger conversation about where we draw the line. Passion in sports is this double-edged sword. On one hand, it's what fuels the beauty of the game, the chance, the loyalty, the emotion. On the other, it can spiral into chaos, where fans and players cross boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. Cantona's kick forced football, and really all sports, to take a hard look at those boundaries. It's been nearly 3 decades since that infamous night, but the story of Eric Cantona and that kick still lingers. It's a reminder of how thin the line is, how quickly things can unravel in the heat of the moment. And yet, it's also a story of redemption, of turning scandal into legacy. Cantona remains, to this day, one of the most fascinating figures in football, a king in every sense of the word. And that's all for today. Thanks for listening to Sporting Law. Remember, sometimes the most unforgettable moments in sports are the ones we wish we could forget. Catch you next time.